to this thing, man. Get this post game reaction over with. You know what I'm saying? Who is this message? Let me put my phone on do not disturb right now so we can get this out the way. All right, boom, boom. Like I said, I'm all right, man. How's everybody feeling, man? How's everybody that's tuning in? How y'all feeling? Welcome to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast. Before we get started, everybody, what storylines for this upcoming week? I got mine. You know I got mine. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead. My boy AJ in this thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get through the administrative things before we get started officially. Trap or Die podcast obviously is now streaming live on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Catch each and every weekday show. Live on those platforms at 7 p.m. Eastern. As far as the post-game shows, each post-game show is now live streamed on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube immediately following the Washington football game. Obviously, for my Twitch viewers, everybody and subscribers, there will be some exclusive content as the days move along and moving forward that will be streamed only on Twitch. So if you are not following there, that is the most important thing. Make sure that you are following on that site so you won't miss out on anything. Obviously, as always, everybody who's around, you can get a part of each and every show through the comments and also through the call-ins, which I'm about to put in right now. This is the new method that we're going to be doing. No number, but there we go. There is the information for everybody that's trying to call in. If you want to find that type of that method, there we go. Oh my goodness, what's going on, Miso? Let me go ahead and unmute AJ. AJ is here with me. AJ, how you feeling, boss? Everything good with you?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I can't complain, man. I can't complain. Jerry said, where is he talking about? He said this team gets a QB and defense keeps playing like this and they'll be all right. And hey, you turn to
Sound
talk to
good.
me, Brad. Talk to me. Why does this team make you sick, man? AJ, I'm gonna go ahead and check in with you first and foremost. My storyline for this week is simple. In a week where on-field turmoil, actually, 2 weeks, grew louder and louder, and in a game where many thought that Washington wasn't going to hang against the Super Bowl champs, the Washington football team played their best game of the season, and they also won it. So that'll be my storyline moving forward. AJ, this was a surprising game. Nobody thought. I thought we was gonna lose 30-17. And so many people are surprised by that as well, rightfully so. It wasn't a week where we were supposed to win. But Washington played their best game of the year, and I'm gonna hand this to you in terms of your opening thoughts. Anything that you got to say, your overall observations about the actual Washington football team and their game against the Bucs.
Yeah, man. I actually, surprisingly, I actually had a feeling that they might win this morning. Like, it's easily a trap game. You can come in there and think like this team has a poor secondary, defense overall, not really utilizing their weapons offensively. We have a perfect defensive scheme to go against a guy like Taylor Heineke. And it happened. They created turnovers. I mean, kind of got spooky there because we weren't scoring points off of these turnovers. But, at the end of the day, I think they played an overall good game, well enough to win. You probably want to see them capitalize off the turnovers more. And you also probably don't want to see them give up 3 points at the end of the half. That was so stupid. Like that was
Yeah.
an idiotic play, and I'm so surprised of the nature of William Jackson doing that because all you literally had to do was just let that man run out of bounds. But yeah, I mean
And then on
they
top of that, you
came.
grab the face mask, bro. It's just complete. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
it's stupid, and that's only because Mike Evans grabbed his face mask, so felt the need to retaliate. But I mean, at the end of the day, oh man, my bad. As I'm speaking to you, I'm just watching Minka Fitzpatrick come in and get this interception in the Detroit and Pittsburgh game. But
It's still
yeah, I
tied.
mean, yeah, it's still tied. They just
Yeah,
caused a
fuck the
fumble.
Steelers, dog.
Detroit caused a fumble, and then they just turned around and gave it back to Pittsburgh, but it might come back. But overall, man, just the bad part of the game is Chase Young getting injured. Um, you know, never want to say that there's a positive in an injury of that nature, but maybe now you get to see Jack Del Rio mix it up a little bit more on the defensive scheme side and not rely on that front four as much now that you lost your two bookends and Sweat and Young. Now maybe you got to get creative with the blitz and rotating guys because I think I even tweeted during the game. I don't really think I seen Matt Ioannidis on the field too much today. I don't know. Maybe I missed the inactive list. I don't know, but I didn't really see him.
Nah, I didn't see much. And in terms of the stats too, he didn't even pop up on the stat sheet. So either he didn't play that off. He was definitely wasn't noticeable for me. But he wasn't on the stat sheet either. And just so we can get through it. Actually, let me if you aren't finished, I'll let you continue, and then we can go through the stat sheet right quick for everybody.
Oh no, we can go through it.
All right. So as always, let's get through these numbers right quick. 29-19, Washington wins, improves. They're 3-6 now. Tampa Bay falls to 6-3. So on the Washington side, Taylor Heineke went 26-32, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers, 5 sacks, surrendered for 30 yards. The offense in total went for 34 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then the leading receiver is Terry McLaurin with 6 receptions. And the leading receiver in yards is 59 yards, Terry McLaurin as well. DeAndre Carter right behind him with 3 catches, 56 yards, and 1 touchdown. Defensively, you had Cam Curl leading the way with 8 total tackles. Right behind him, Jamie Davis, and then Kendall Fuller as well, who's tied for second, both of them with 6 tackles. On the Tampa Bay side, you have Tom Brady going 23-34, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Their rushing game, which was pretty non-existent, man. Only 13 carries, 12 by running backs. Tom Brady had 1 scramble, but 13 carries, 53 yards, no touchdowns, and longs of 8 yards. And then the leading receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was Mike Evans for 2 catches, 62 yards, and the 1 40-yard touchdown reception for him. And, oh my God! And then their leading tackler is Devin White with 18 total tackles and 13 solo. Right behind him is Levante David, 14 tackles, 14 tackles, 5 solo. And then the team stats before we close it out: 11-19 for third down for Washington, holding Tampa Bay on the opposite end for 40%, 4 of 10 on third down, and then he held. This is actually surprising, but Washington averaged 4.5 yards per carry offensively, which is actually even worse than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who still wasn't that good offensively, averaging 5.8 yards per carry. Only 3 penalties for Washington, 6 for Tampa Bay, and then obviously the time of possession was dominated by Washington. Nearly 40 minutes to 20, 39 minutes exactly in 8 seconds to 20 minutes and 52 seconds. Obviously, the last drive was a killer, AJ. 10-minute drive, 19 plays. They pretty much took over in that aspect. All right. So with that being said, there was a few notes that I had that I wanted to talk about. I think the first thing and the most important thing, I mean, it is a dub. We can focus on the macro picture, this upcoming week. But the post game, the players that stood out to me, man, Kendall Fuller, outside of that one bomb that he gave up, obviously to Mike Evans, he had really good coverage on my side of things for majority of the day. He was pretty active on the screens, in the flats, and then obviously Jack Del Rio. I don't know if this was like a moment of clarity or if this was something where he just said this is the matchup where it works. But press coverage is more than I've seen throughout the previous 7 or previous 8 games. Kendall Fuller played pretty well in that aspect. John Allen, obviously, in the midst of an all-pro season. J.D. McKissick, Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Carter all stepped up for Taylor Heineke. Cam Curl made plays. I think he was one who forced the fumble, and then obviously Bobby McCain makes up for his dropped interception, I think, against the Denver Broncos. But yeah, Taylor Heineke stood out. Have him on my list of players that played well. I do want to criticize for the moments that he threw some turnover-worthy throws, but at the end of the day, we can talk about that during the week as well. At the end of the day, the stat sheet shows 0. But I will hand it to you in terms of some players that stood out to make this this W happen, AJ, because odds are, it it may be just as good, or it won't. It may not get as better as what happened today in terms of the rest of the season for Washington.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne causing that interior push, making Tom Brady feel unsettled and having to move his feet. That's one of the things that you can do to utilize to, the get him out of his rhythm. Like, so that was great. Definitely seen great push on that side. Kendall Fuller definitely balled out. Aside from giving up that touchdown to Mike Evans, where he got played like a little kid. He definitely tossed him
Mm-hmm.
to the side like a little
Yep.
child. But other than that, man, I think like you said, Jack Del Rio definitely played more press man coverage that I've been screaming for them to do all damn year.
Yep.
But it's funny how that happens after the bye. I think if they could have adjusted earlier in the season to playing more press man, it allows it allows them to create more pressure, and on top of that, William Jackson to do what he does best, which is playing press man. He came in there and created a turnover in the beginning of the game. So yeah, I mean, I think overall, I was definitely impressed by the two D tackles and Fuller for the most part. Can't really say anybody else. Like maybe DeAndre Carter, you know, he stepped in, played a big role in the passing game somewhat, and also getting that touchdown. Definitely showcasing his wide receiver ability, and aside from just being able to return kicks.
Yeah. So secondary did play well. Jarrett, you know what's crazy to me? So I have no idea why my camera just zoomed in the way it did, and it's actually upsetting me. I'm gonna fix this when the show's over, but right now we're just gonna deal with a guy with a zoomed in view of his forehead and his nose. So we're gonna have to deal with that for now. Um, yeah, I don't know why it took Del Rio 10 weeks to figure this out either, man. His defensive strengths. This is what Miso is saying in the chat. I don't get it either. But for me, I think, as always, like you talked about the defensive side of the football, and that was important. One of the things that stood out to me as I saw this per Washington Football's PR, Washington intercepted Tom Brady 2 times in the first quarter. It's his first time that a team has picked Brady off multiple times in the first quarter since 2012. I mean, for Brady, given that it's Brady, it's an incredible stat. But just understanding, I think it points to the importance in which you kind of brought up, just in general, is that this is a defensive win. I mean, you play well on both sides of football. You have to score 29 points. You have to score more than 26. That's what I said like during the middle of the game. You have to score at least 26 to win this game. You end up scoring 29. Works out well, but both sides. But if it wasn't for the defense, in those moments creating pressure, you didn't get to Tom Brady at all. But and it's not. This is one of those games where you talk about those pressure numbers or those pass rush win rates, all those things. This is probably one of those games where you can actually harp on that because it visibly affected Brady in both his moments where he passed the ball, whether it's like throwing it to the ground, throwing it away, throwing it at the feet of a receiver. Um, those are those moments where you kind of sit back and say, all right, the pressure is getting to Brady. You're making plays, and the secondary is playing well too. That one time they got beat deep too. They weren't really allowing anything over the top in terms of like throughout the entire game. Yes, that was press coverage, and Kendall Fuller ended up getting beat on that. But for majority of the game, outside of that, you saw a lot of things where Brady had to take what was underneath. Washington was very disciplined on the front end and the back end of the defensive side of the football. Um, and I mean, shoot, and it resulted in a really good day. I'll put it that way. It resulted in a really good day. How much is your confidence in Del Rio and the defense the rest of the way to kind of actually solidify things on that side of the ball?
I don't really have much confidence in anything in regards to this team. To be honest with you, it's just kind of
Yeah.
week by week case. I just think when it takes you past your bye week to figure out that the best thing that your secondary can do is press man coverage, I don't think anyone should have confidence in that. I think some of the players knew that as well. Like, hey, the best thing that we can do is play press man because when they play too much zone, it allows for so many holes to be open in that passing game. And when you tighten it up, you didn't really see Tom Brady have a chance to, attack the middle with the tight ends, whether it be Bray, OJ Howard, or whoever was playing in the slot, Chris Godwin. You didn't really see those opportunities today, and that's because of the press man and in combination with the interior pass rush. But it helps the pass rush when you do press. So now they have they have more time to get to the quarterback and make an effect on the play, whether it be pressure wise or what have you. So I'm just curious, like I said, how they utilize the rest of the defense now that they don't have Sweat and Young. I think we see Landon Collins become more of a blitzer and have an impact in that aspect of the game. But yeah, I'm not really looking forward to too much. I'm just curious to see what they do scheme up going forward.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think the biggest thing that we got this upcoming week, AJ, is the Cam versus Rivera game. Regardless of the interest that fans may have in Washington on that side, I mean, Carolina still has something to play for, but in terms of Washington side of the things, if your interest is waned at all, this is probably a game where you're like, okay, I need to see how this thing plays out. Because there's a lot of people, who wanted Cam on Washington side, and we know that Ron Rivera refused to get him. Whether it's
I'm praying that Cam goes the fuck off. Like, I'm praying that he does big numbers, because the lack of urgency to go get him is so weird. And you bring in everybody from Carolina in here. The fact that Cam ended up going back to Carolina before his former coach that Cam led to a Super Bowl didn't bring him in is so wild and out of pocket to me. And that's typically not how the NFL works. So you have to think that there's some type of animosity there, because the NFL works based on relationships and those that you've cultivated. And they were with each other for a very long time and had success. So to never even bring this man in for a visit is extremely telling, and it's going to be the major storyline going into the week, especially with that little nugget that I heard Ian Rappaport drop earlier this morning.
Oh, with the coaching thing and the decision,
when he said
transparency.
He never had the transparency he wanted, being able to go directly to the coach. It was typically coming from other people within the building. That's extremely telling.
Hey, first off, let me. I'm not even going to guess it. Talk to me. Why does this team piss you off? And I feel like it's probably going to be around the same things of what Miso said earlier. But in terms of Cam, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I'm not that vested into the situation at all. And when I say the situation, I'm talking about the actual game itself. Like I'm with you in that. I'm taking these things one game at a time, and seeing how they adjust from each week. And the reason being, I mean, obviously for as long as it relates to Cam, I'm with Jerry. I mean, excuse me, not Jerry. Miso. He said, "Save us from Cam Newton coming from this team." But his reasoning is just simply having a quarterback of the future. And I'm in that vein. Like once Fitzpatrick went down, for me, it was either Heineke or nobody. Because if we were going to suck, we needed to make sure that we stayed suck, like in that category. But if Heineke ended up proving to be more than that, I mean, it works out for the team, and it also works out for Rivera and company. But with that being said, man, it's definitely gonna be a big draw. Cam is in a situation where he has a lot to prove. And I think a lot to prove also stems from the fact that Rivera, who said they had conversations but never reached out, the perception on Cam's side is that he's looking for redemption for everybody else in the league who turned him down throughout this time period, but also he's looking for redemption against Ron Rivera, who had multiple opportunities between the offseason and and during the season to try and reach out to Cam, and he didn't do it. So that'll be interesting. I think we have. Let me check one thing. There's one more thing that popped up in terms of Washington versus the Buccaneers. What's going on, Amani? Good game for sure. And Jerry, have a good one. All that good stuff. So one more thing in terms of Washington in the Bucs game. This is from Grant Paulson. He tweeted a couple minutes ago. In the 29-19 win, Washington ran 71 plays to the Bucks 47. Washington outpossessed Tampa Bay 39 minutes to 21. Sealed the game obviously with an 18-play, 10-minute drive, and Heineke 26 to 32, 256, and a touchdown. Career high runs 24 for Gibson, 2 touchdowns, and then obviously the defense picked off Brady twice. To close it out for this episode and this post game reaction, man. As far as it relates to this game, I think when you have, and my dad called me immediately after they scored the touchdown, the final touchdown to cap off that 19-play drive. When you have these glimpses, AJ, of a team, and this is throughout the season, so it's not just stemming on this week. When you have these moments with the team where it shows that they're capable of competing, they've had those moments in where they can play against some teams at least in one half or one quarter. It begs to drive and wonder, like, how exactly can they piece it all together? And for Tampa Bay to not only go down 10 points early on twice, not only for that to happen, Washington responded in multiple situations where their back was against the wall, and we all thought we all assumed it was just a matter of time till Brady got things clicking, and essentially, it never happened. I think that the biggest key was the series where Washington punts for 2 straight drives out of the half, when their score is 16-6. Tampa Bay drives, cut down the lead to 16-13. And Washington responds with a touchdown to go up 23-13. And then the very next drive that Tampa Bay gets the ball, they stop them and force a punt. And at that moment, Tampa Bay was currently 3 for 9 on third downs. Again, we've said it a couple times, and obviously we know like where this team is at. They have a long way to claw back into anything. Note everybody who are listening and watching. AJ and myself, we never even talked about playoff chances. We never talked about what's next for this team in terms of progression and things like that. We haven't talked about it. It's one game at a time, but it's noticing, to circle up and close off my point, AJ, is that when you see that they're capable of these glimpses in these moments, and then you see a full game of it, and then you see a full game of it against the Super Bowl contender and the reigning Super Bowl champion, you only know that like there's something there, but will it ever click, or will it be this consistent with Ron Rivera and company moving forward?
I mean, I don't think I ever thought that during this game. And when they win a game against like a competitive team, especially, you know, the defending Super Bowl champions of this nature, I still see the glaring holes within this team. I still see, you know, Scott Turner not trying to get the ball in his playmaker a little bit more, and Terry McLaurin. I still don't know if Antonio Gibson is the future at running back. I still don't know what's going on all the way with the defense, or even the head coach, like, you know, some of the decisions being made during the game and things of that nature. So I always have, like, since the beginning of the season, I've always been curious of the quarterback decision in Fitzpatrick and, you know, Taylor Heineke. And now I guess for some fans, I can see where they feel like, damn, if you could do this against Tampa, then why can't you do it against, you know, these other teams that we face? Like, why can't you do it against them? Why couldn't you win out against Denver? You know, I get it, but at the same token, it's still like the glaring holes is they still don't have a number 2 wide receiver. They try to address that with Curtis Samuel. We don't know what's going on with that. They keep playing this back and forth game with, we'll see how he looks this week, blah, blah, blah. But look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know, this man could have got surgery and possibly had an opportunity to return this year for sure. They let him go through a opportunity of not being able to come back by resting on his own and seeing how rehab, and it's gotten worse. So, you know, who's to say what's going to happen with Curtis Samuel? Like, this man could have had this surgery since May. earlier this year and probably be able to be playing by now. It's a lot of decisions, but I mean, I definitely could see where some fans could be like, damn, like, why can't we play like this every week? Well, you can't because your coaches don't have 2 weeks to prepare for a team versus 1 week. Maybe if they had a bye week after every game, maybe it'll be a bit more competitive. But I mean, you should win if you have 2 weeks to prepare for a team. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like,
No. You shouldn't win. Like, come on now. We know how much better. And I said this pregame, or excuse me, in the game preview. Uh, Look, Tampa Bay brings something to the table that Washington does not have. And that is a strong defense in the sense of their run defense, and then they have an elite passing game where you're not going to touch Brady, and he's really efficient through the air. Washington doesn't have anything that they can really hang their hat on either side of the football. Now, so yes, you can win a game if you have extra days to prepare for it, but you're also talking about a team who is better than Washington. Like, we know that. Like, they're better than Washington, but they also had that same amount of time to prepare for Washington as well, and they just forgot the game started at 1 o'clock. Like, them niggas, them
trap
people,
game.
them folks.
They were still in
Yeah.
Tulum. You know, it was a trap game. They
Right.
were still in Tulum. They were like, hey,
Yeah,
man,
they had their time too, bruh.
Yeah,
Still
like,
drunk. They
about
was
to be
probably,
a
you know what I'm
breeze.
saying? Yeah, they was probably in the city last night. You know what I'm saying? Turning the foot a little bit, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Asking where the best hookah in the city at. Oh man. All right. So look, we'll have a cleaner version, everybody, of the post game or the aftermath. As always, you know, I bring that to the table following games throughout the week. So everybody, for those who are not also aware, because this actually slipped in my updates, Chase and Terry, they did get hurt. Chase Young is out, and the news update actually came in during the game that he had tore his ACL, so he's out for the year, the rest of the year, which is pretty unfortunate for a player in his shoes, because the week that was the bye week and the week leading up to this Tampa Bay game was all primarily about Chase Young, and the noise between he and Ron Rivera. Not, I wouldn't call it a rift. I can't confirm that or deny it, but just the situation between Ron Rivera and Chase Young was pretty amplified throughout this week, and now he's out for the year, and we'll have to wait to see him again in 2022. Okay. Yeah, Amani's right though. Amani, my bad. I did see your post. Yeah, they had extra days too, 2 weeks as well. So, with that being said, everybody, this is the shortened version of the Trap or Dive aftermath or immediate recap. We'll be back on Tuesday, closing up the book on Tampa Bay versus Washington, and also have a guest to come through. Man, if you all like food, you like good cooks, good eats, and you need some tips in the kitchen as well, this is probably something you want to stick around for. It's pretty good. And then Wednesday, obviously, all 32. Thursday, game day preview. Talking Cam Newton majority of the time there, for sure. So, yeah, with that being said, everybody, appreciate everybody who tuned in live, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all that good stuff. We will catch you all in a couple of days. Y'all be safe. Enjoy your day, and enjoy the rest of the games. Peace.